Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Hi, it's Dr. Gemma, and this is episode 50 of Cognitive. This is a little bit unusual as episodes go because I'm on a road trip as I'm recording, so you may have to be patient, and there may have to be several disclaimers and interjections along the way. Show notes can still be found at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com if you want to see any of the links. I also want to point out that I mention a very excellent LYS up in Bishop. The proper name of this excellent LYS is Sierra Cottons and Wools, which you can find at sierracottonswools, all one word, .com on the internet. I'm going to mangle that name for the rest of the next two episodes, so hopefully I will keep correcting it. But I don't review it here. It's going to be reviewed in episode 51. But I will try to sneak a link into the show notes for this episode because I want to send business their way because they're doing a terrific job up there and you should know about them, particularly if you're headed up for a little vacation in Mammoth or Yosemite or June Lake or any of the wonderful little spots up there. Okay, on with the show. Well, hi, it's Dr. Gemma. I strongly suspect this is episode 50 of Cognitive. Little hard to tell because this wasn't exactly how I envisioned myself recording this. As I record this, it is Saturday, October 16th, I believe, 2021, and I am zooming through the far northwest edge of the Mojave Desert. What, you say? I thought you worked on Saturdays, Dr. Gemma. Actually, I thought I worked on Saturdays, but this morning I woke up with a migraine and then said, okay, it's time to figure out that I need some kind of a break. I don't really know why I need some kind of a break. I feel like everything's been okay at work, but I need some kind of a break. My job is great. My people are great. In fact, we've actually made some significant improvements in the way our office is managed. It seems to me, at least, from working from home. So I'm not sure why I'm all tensed up, but I finally realized this morning it was time for a mental health day. So here I am. Now, the other thing that's going on is for some reason I can't explain, I have been possessed by the idea of going to Mammoth, as in Mammoth Lakes. But also it's more famous, I think, to the rest of the world as a ski area in East Central California. I can't explain this either, that for the last 2 weeks, I have felt driven by this urge to see the fall colors and foliage and to go to Mammoth. So, I don't know what happened. I kept looking at hotels and saying, way too expensive, way too expensive. And then suddenly this morning, I said I need a day off. And then I said, am I seriously going to just sit here all day in my farm with aching sinuses from the wind and the dust? Because that's what this autumn is kind of being like. In the meantime, we had a power outage. And so I'll probably come back to all this in the blather, assuming this is episode 50 and there is a blather. Maybe this is an inter-episode recording. I'll probably figure that out later. Either that or this is part one of what's probably going to be a very lengthy episode because I'm going to have mammoth adventures, I guess. So here we are, heading northward on the 14, State Highway 14. Now, I'm not kidding you. Pull out your maps function on your cell phone and look up Lancaster, California, which is north of where I live, but that's a good starting point. And then look at the 14 as it goes north through, let me think, Lone Pine, Big Pine, Bishop, and then it swings, well actually by that point you're on the 395, which I may be on even as I speak. At any rate, it swings left, the 395 in Bishop, and then with a slight left off it, you end up in Mammoth. The reason you should look at this is one of those hugely overlooked sections of enormous natural beauty. I will be driving by Death Valley National Park on my eastern side. Now, I will be divided by it by a row of mountains, but I have been to Death Valley, and it's one of those things you really should see, and yet so few people do. And the other thing is, people go to see it at a really stupid time of year. Oh look, where am I? There is the 178 east to Inyokern and Ridgecrest. At any rate, on my left is the Pacific Crest Trail, but it's actually, it might be on my right just now, because it's not, it's in the High Sierra at this point. And it's apparently gorgeous. So I suspect it's, right now it's on my right, but I think it's going to be on my left, because it seems to me that a lot of people doing the PCT cut down into Inyokern to get their mail and supplies. At any rate, here I am, the junction of 395, 4 miles away, 125 miles from Bishop. All right, and on my right, not yet, but eventually will be, actually it might be there. No, we're just at Ridgecrest. It's a little further north, will be Death Valley. Death Valley on the eastern side is at the edge of Nevada, I believe. And the western side, there's mountains, and then there's the road I'm on to the west of those. And Death Valley is just a sight to see, but you want to go see it in early December. That's about when the roads are still open from the mountains down into the actual valley. It's huge, it's desert, and it's unlike anything you've ever seen. A lot of people go there in the summer because it is the hottest place on earth, apparently. I think it still holds that record. And people want to go there and see that. Don't do that. If you want to know what it's like in Death Valley in the summer, here's an easy experiment you can try at home. Turn your oven on to about 200, stick your head in it when it's good and warmed up. That'll be about what you get out of going to Death Valley in the heat. Disclaimer, please don't stick your head in the oven. Please don't stick your head in the oven when it's turned on at all, let alone turn to any hot temperature. This was just a joke. Have I been to Death Valley in the heat? No. I've been to Vegas in the heat. Let me tell you, that's close enough. I think it was about 120 when I was in Vegas. At any rate, look, heat is heat. Heat is heat. You can go, well, I'm in the hottest place on earth right now. Yeah, okay, you'll see heat waves shimmering over open desert. I'd really recommend, though, that you see it in the late autumn, early winter, because Death Valley is remarkable. The rock formations, the hiking, there's something for everybody. There's off-highway vehicle stuff. There's these rocks that mysteriously move by themselves across this canyon floor. There's just so much to see, and you know, there's 2 hotels in the park that are run by the National Park Service and are pretty decent. Go to Stovepipe Wells. So this is part of what most Americans never bother to see, and it's really a shame. But also, I have to say, I was raised in the forest lands of the northeast of the United States, and to me, until I went to Wyoming when I was 16, these types of landscapes were completely unimaginable, and I think they are for most Americans. So what I'm really telling you is the eastern boundary of California, and it's traversed by interstate, well, by California 14, I think it is at this point, is really worth seeing. It's very interesting. I was really happy. I think it was Nitty Barb who actually took her camper right after I was in Yosemite. She was over, Yosemite's on the west of the 14, well, the west of the 395 now. And she was on the east of the 395 at some of the remote forest lands there. And this, yes, I'm on the 14. Oh, yes, it says N14 right where I just passed the sign. So now I'm on the 395. This is really something you should see. And the resort areas here have charming names like Convict Lake. Okay, and it's just as horrible a story as you would expect. Let me tell you. You can wiki that one. You know, hit Wikipedia. But it's a very beautiful area, and it's really hard to describe why. It's hard to describe the kind of beauty. It's about vast open spaces, but they're covered with low brown shrubs that are mostly creosote bushes and stumpy junipers. And at one point, I'm mostly past this, but Joshua trees. I was passing them. Now I think I've run out of that zone. At any rate, the hills here, the mountains, are all dust. They look like the bottom of an ocean floor. They just look like they were formed by waves more than volcanic. I have no idea how they were formed, but it's just a giant, it's just a giant dust bowl here, and yet you have to see it. We tend to think, well, I tend to think of deserts as sand dunes. No, but this is certainly a desert, and if you've never seen anything like it, it's worth it. I came through Red Rock Park. I think it's a state park, and I really wish I had been running my little camera. I've got a GoPro with me, and I really regret it. Next time I come this way north, I am going to actually stick the GoPro on my head and just film out the window as I go, because it was just astonishingly beautiful. The landscape is like this giant moonscape with all these crags and stuff. It was truly amazing, and yep, there's a good picture I missed. A good series of pictures. And I like the GoPro app lets you pick out frames and save them as individual photos. So now I just hit where the 14 dies and turns into 395. And I'm surrounded by these hills that go from everything to like almost a greenish charcoal to reddish, sandy, down, I don't even know how to describe these colors, pale ochre, all shades of brown and beige and tan with hints of red and charcoal. And it's very, very gorgeous. And you say, but Gemma, shouldn't you stop and take a picture of this for us? Yes, I should. And will I? No, because I'm on another mission. Turns out there's a knitting and yarn and crafts store in Bishop. Sierra Cottons and Wools. And it's open today. So I'm either going to get it today or I'm going to get it on the return trip on Monday. But I'd like to get up there. That is, I'd like to get the Mammoth. Well, it's still daylight because it is going to get cold tonight. And it's going to be warm tomorrow. And that's what's going on. We're in that sort of phase of the fall where you get these cold, cold nights, but then you get days in the 50s and 60s. So tomorrow should be in the 60s. Monday should be in the 50s. So any kind of frost or stuff, I want to not be on the road with that. So I'm going to try and get on the roads in and out of Mammoth and Bishop while it's still warm. The interesting thing I remember from my trip up here to go to Yosemite in September of 19 was that everything is pretty desert and low, and it starts getting pretty in Big Pine, and it's very pretty in Bishop, but it's still kind of deserty. I remember it as when you leave Bishop, suddenly you start climbing, and that's where I think there's going to be issues with precipitation. And I don't have chains for my tires, and I don't care. Jimmy crack corn to you too. Okay, so that's a long introduction. So Gemma, what's on your hooks and needles? Funny you should ask that. Well, since I finished the Mad Skills sweater, which at one stage was named the Mammoth sweater because I was going through so much obsession about getting to Mammoth. I'm not kidding you. By the way, yes, it's packed. It's with me. I almost named it the Mammoth sweater. I may yet name it the Mammoth sweater. It may be the Mammoth Mad Skills sweater for all I know. But it's with me. This, of course, is the beautiful sweater with the cherry red stripe at the top, followed by the stripe I talked about my alpacas last week, etc., and the silver body and silver arms. Anyway, so yes, the Mammoth sweater is with me. I should mention, I am currently wearing my Francis Revisited sweater, and I'm wearing what I think I call the Sunnybank socks. I think these are from Sunnybank Could be 2019 or 2018. They're a pretty pink stripe, and I can't remember the maker. I'm really sorry. I think it's one of the bigger brands. It's not like, you know, Joanne Fabrics type brands, but it's one of the bigger brand dyers, you know. So anyway, I am wearing my woolies, and I have packed my woolies, and of course I forgot all my wool cowls and gaiters and neck stuff, scarves, and I forgot a water bottle. Oh, I'm at Pearsonville. I wonder what that means. And I'm in Inyo County, the heart of El Camino Sierra. Okay, the Camino, the highway of the Sierra, the mountain highway. Cool. I should look all this up. Hope I remember to. I'm passing what really isn't a town, but it has certain aspirations to be a village. It's the occasional mobile home, you know, manufactured home, whatever we call them this week. Okay. So here I am in the middle of nowhere, and oh yes, I'm on what's on my hooks and needles. I was telling you what I was wearing, but I have. Oh look, Gus's really good fresh jerky. Free samples, olives and honey, but it doesn't tell me where to find them. Okie dokie, artichokey, but that was kind of cool. Good luck, Gus! I'm by Pearson Road. I hope you're there somewhere. And at the end of Pearson Road, there's this little sign that goes, Bishop! And points the way I'm going, but it doesn't tell you how far. I think I just saw a sign that I'm about 120 miles out of Bishop, so that's good. Okay, she said, rambling right along. Meanwhile, back on my hooks and needles. So, the easiest thing to tell you is once I finished the beautiful Mad Skills sweater, I decided I wanted to go back to Twin Faces vest, but before I could do that, I wanted to take care of all the catch-up stuff. So, on that list, the easiest one is the temperature blanket because I was catching it up merrily. And I got it up to, I think, October 4th. And then it went into the 50s, and I needed a color called Tranquil, I think. And I can't find all my greens and blues. But I've got some of them in the box that I'm using to carry all this stuff. So I don't know what's going on there. If I just put them somewhere else, like a numbskull, or if I really ran out of them and just never replenished them, which I find hard to believe. However, fortunately for me, Knit Picks had a 2-day sale. I'm not sure why. I suspect it was meant to coincide with Rhinebeck. I suspect they're trying. Wow, the Chimney Peak Fire Station is way over on the left somewhere. Ooh, and I can't see it. It's just in these bare, empty hills. Good luck, Mr. Firemen who are stationed there. Anyway, so, goodness, 112 from Bishop, just saw the sign. Okay, so anyway, I was catching up, and I'm about at October 4th, and I have to stop, and I made an order from Knit Picks, and I'm really hoping this is the last of that. Now, I started this by buying 2 of the kits for the Hue Shift blankets, and I'm really glad, because that's giving me a dark blue called Celestial, which I thought I would use in the temperature blanket, and really haven't. And also black, and I think that would make a nice frame around the outer edge of this if I need to do that. We'll cross that bridge when I get to it. And I'm going to have a lot of extra oranges and yellows. That's cool. I'll figure out something to do with them, or I'll give them away. And hopefully this is it. Hopefully I'm going to get through the next, really, October, 90 days with what I just ordered from Knit Picks. And this is all in Brava Sport, and I'm grateful I can afford this. While I would have liked to have done this in an indie dyer, I can't afford it, to be honest. And at the same time, I can't think who was just showing me that she was doing the Hue Shift. It's Carla, Quandom Quadrat on Ravelry. She's doing the Hue Shift in her own selection of worsted. And I think the Hue Shift kit from Knit Picks is Brava Sport, at least when I bought it, it was. And it was meant to be a generous throw. So I think in worsted, instead of sport, you might get a full-size, twin-size blanket out of this. I think it would be a little square to go in a twin bed, but even so. But that's what I'm doing, and so hopefully I'm done with that. Moving right along, that took me up to the Franken socks, which I really wanted to get done because these are supposed to be for Halloween. And of course, I'm looking at all my browns and autumnal colors to make socks for then Thanksgiving to make sort of the turkey socks. And I did find that, the fiber files. I have not wound it yet. Incidentally, the Franken socks, I finished the first sock. I think I might have told you that. And I'm really booking on the second sock because now that's my kind of popcorn knitting instead of doing the sweater, you know. And so I'm really racing through it. I went whizzing through the stripes in like a day and a half, you know, those 7 inches. And I've done the waist yarn for the foot, for the heel. And now I'm on the foot in the regia of all the pastels. And I'm liking it. I'm very happy about it. So that is traveling with me right now. And it's highly likely I'll finish that on this trip. But I brought 2 more things because, you know, that's what we do. We're knitters. So what else did I bring? I brought Twin Faces vest, which is, oh yes, which is certainly going to get surveyed. I need to get myself back on track. So I brought everything. I mean, I brought my little needles and scissors kits with, I'm wearing a measuring tape on my wrist right now, one of the leather bracelets. And what else? I brought everything to sort of sit down and take good stock of where I am. I brought a needle sizing chart to see which needles I've got with me, because I think I've got what I need for Twin Faces vest. I think it was all in the bag with the yarn, with the vest that she sent back to me. So if all goes well, I might get a chance to put the needles back in that and get rolling on that again. And I'm probably going to add like an inch to the body because I want to take the body in just a little bit. And so I'm going to use that extra inch to do decrease rows. And then I'll just do the front and the back. This pattern is, of course, from Ann Budd's Handybook of Knitting Patterns, or Knitter's Handybook of Patterns. So there's that. But I also brought with me the Wild Lettuce shawl. And that is the real joy, that when I finished the sweater, I got my mojo back on lace knitting the edge on the Wild Lettuce shawl. I love this edging pattern. This is a free pattern. You can get it. You can download it straight off Ravelry, thanks to Michelle Miller, Fickle Knitter, the designer who made all her patterns free on Ravelry at the beginning of the quarantine, in the spirit of, for heaven's sake, stay home, will ya? Bless you, Fickle Knitter, bless you, Michelle. And so you can get this for free. It doesn't look like you can, but you can. Just start hitting all the links on its page and you'll find it. In my show notes, which are at Ravelry on our group, and also at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com, you can find the Wild Lettuce shawl, and you can click through from there to Michelle's pattern page on Ravelry, and then all the links to download it as PDF. Really, really nice. I'm so excited because that edging is fantastic. I actually want to figure out the math on multiples, because frankly, I think I'm going to keep that edging around and use it on shawls, like just fast shawls that I want to make, because it's a sensational edge. It's like these, I don't know how to describe it, like feathers or arrows running side by side in 2 parallel lines. It's just very pretty. Also, last night I screwed up a row on it, and you know what? You look at it, you can't even tell that I did. Now when I block it, maybe we'll change our mind on that. But hey, that really is going to recommend it to me. I am passing a big dark blue-black lake. Boy, I wonder what that is. And it's like a tar pit filled in. Upper Little Lake Ranch. Okay, I guess that's Upper Little Lake. Anyway, it's really cool though, because it just sort of springs out of the ground, and right next to it, these lumps of really raw black rock that look like basalt or something just are springing out of the ground next to it. Like I said, you really need to see this scenery. Anyway, so I'm very happy because I'm pretty sure, I think I've got 4 repeats, I finally counted, left on the Wild Lettuce, and I'm pretty sure that's going to get done today or tomorrow, and I'll be wearing it. Yeah, Little Lake Ranch, and there's a whole bunch of mailboxes. Bless you, may you stay safe, far from any civilization and hospital, assuming people actually live there, but they have mailboxes. Wow. Kids, we are talking desolate. All right. Oh, look, a Division of Water and Power job site. I can't imagine why. We're in the middle of the stark raging desert. Okay, Meanwhile, back at the podcast, this place is fascinating. Oh, by the way, I'm really in the valley now. That I would have to say, in terms of geography, I have left the Mojave Desert per se. I don't think this is still considered Mojave Desert. And I'm in this big, dry, empty eastern valley that runs up the eastern edge of California. And the mountains on my right now, I'm probably getting level with Death Valley, so that's still California. Ooh, big, bare, red hill sticking up out of nowhere with nothing on it. Not even roads or power lines. Awesome. Yeah, this is the thing. Death Valley is really remarkable for many reasons, but one of the things it's got are these landscapes that look painted in all these different colors. And there's even an area called Painted Rocks where there's like blues and greens in it. Where am I at? Fossil Falls. Use Cinder Road. Boy, that's intimidating. It's like, okay, here's Cinder Road. I guess somewhere in there is Fossil Falls. It's like, you feel like there should be a sign that says, beyond here be dragons. I mean, this is so empty. But anyway, the cool thing is, with all that painted mineral stuff lying around on the surface in Death Valley, you get a bit of that out here as well, just like you get it in the Red Rocks of Sedona over to my east in Arizona. It's an amazing, amazing landscape. And of course, on my left now, I'm looking at the high country of the Sierra Nevada. No snow so far, but I'm sure it's up there now. And this is remarkable. Everybody sees the Sierra Nevada from the western side. And it is just astonishing from, oh look, Joshua trees. Hi guys, you're beautiful. Don't go extinct, please. We love you. People really don't see this side of the Sierra. And I know right above me, I know from reading, I can't remember, but from reading that, I remember the map very clearly. I kind of memorized the map because I was so interested in it. But up above me really is the Pacific Crest Trail. And I know because I'm now past Inyokern and I'm heading up, and the PCT goes through Yosemite. So it will be on my left now for the rest of my trip. I don't know if it cuts through Mammoth or not. I really don't know. I would suspect it might. I don't remember that. So much for my claim that I remember the map of the PCT. At any rate, so here I am. Let me see, what else? So we got the wild lettuce with us. We have the Franken socks, and we have Twin Faces vest. Of those, I'm expecting to finish the 2 small projects and hopefully get needles back in the vest. But Gemma, you say, aren't you in Mammoth? Yes, I am. Do I have good hiking clothes? Kind of. I brought jeans. I brought my running shoes. I'm just gonna, if I hike, and I hope I will, I just want to see some autumnal colors up here, and I just want to take some easy trails. I don't want to really bust my hump. Gratefully, I also have my storm coat with me, and I believe my walking stick may be in the back of the car as well. I hope so. At any rate, if it's not, I somehow suspect in a town like Mammoth Lakes you can buy a walking stick. So there's a surprising amount of traffic out here today. That is, I can see 3 cars in front of me and 2 cars way behind me. But I think at this point, I'm just on a pleasure drive. That it is really just lovely to be cruising up the road. I've been on the road now since noon, and it's 2:36. In all fairness to that, I stopped at Blaze Pizza in Lancaster and had myself a little keto pizza, which was really nice and just comfortably filling, and I've got a Diet Coke with me. And I brought this recorder because I thought, when I get into the wasteland, this is probably the only thing I'll be able to do. Then I realized, well, I can also listen to my books, my recorded books, on Audible, because they're downloaded. So, that may happen too. Okay, and it looks like I'm coming up onto the rest stop that I remember. This is a really heartbreaking rest stop. And I might have mentioned this. No, I don't think I was doing the podcast. No, I wasn't doing the podcast that time. I think I mentioned it on one of my live Instagrams. If this is COSO, this is one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen. Because it's about the severe abuse of a native tribe that lived perfectly happily in this valley until white soldiers came through and, in a move only white people could make, said, you guys, we hate this valley, so you must hate it too. So they actually thought they were doing an act of charity I'm not making this up, to take the Native Americans off their own place, and yeah, that's it, this is Coso, and move them to a place they thought was better, which basically killed the tribe. And a lot of the tribe ran away and came back. And they had the sense, thank God, to leave them alone when they came back. But it's a heartbreaking story. It's a kind of Victorian melodrama that in the 19th century, there was this huge move to be, I know this sounds nuts, charitable to the Native Americans because they were savages, and we were going to go in there and take them someplace nice so they could be happy. You know, oh, geez, you don't even know what to say to that. I just don't know what to say. That goes without comment. Like, you could have asked them. And yes, they did have interpreters. They really could have asked them. So, you know, I just remember standing here, I think I got here at like 6:30, 7 in the morning, and reading the historical markers. Yeah, I just remember standing here and feeling just devastated. Like, you know, you don't even know what to say. You don't even, like, the tragedy and the craziness and the entitlement and the arrogance, you know, the cultural arrogance that we've achieved the peak of civilization, and you guys must want to imitate us. So anyway, I'm here at Coso, and I'm going to stop and take a rest. Okay, I'm back after the really heartbreaking Coso rest stop. Yeah, I found the signs. They're at the very, 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 very end of the rest stop. Yeah, that's about all I can say about that. They're just, some things are so unspeakable. They literally are unspeakable. Okay, so I'm back onto the beautiful desert road after a brief rest stop. Very interesting, because the last time I saw this rest stop, like I said, it was probably 6:30 or 7 in the morning or something. Just, the sun was just coming up, and I really had missed the scenery without knowing it. I remember Red Rock State Park just looked like these dark rocks in the dark, and in the daylight it's quite amazing. So hopefully, I don't know if it's going to be quite as spectacular going southbound, but I think I may set up my little GoPro on the dashboard or on my forehead and try to film it as I go through it, because it is pretty remarkable. I may also just drive through it, turn around and drive through it northbound to catch it again and drive back, because it's pretty astonishing. But all of this landscape is really, really remarkable as I keep babbling on. So where was I? I think I told you what I'm wearing and what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles. Well, my hooks and needles. Spindles are a big nothing. I'm not spinning right now. What a temptation. Lisa Souza, one of my absolute favorite providers of yarny goodness, just did a sale. She couldn't go to Rhinebeck. Being Lisa, first of all, Lisa Souza does not do a sale. Lisa Souza is a sale. That her costs are so much less than the average indie dyers, and her colorways are spectacular. It has long been a habit of mine to go to Stitches West and walk around taking pictures of all the yarn I like, and then go back to Lisa's booth and buy the closest thing she's got to it. I had to use her sale because I'm running out of yarn on the wild lettuce shawl. And I mean, this is real honest-to-God yarn chicken. That, according to the designer, it took her 379 yards to do this pattern. Okay, so the yarn I'm using, which is an MCN, I think it was from Fiber Files, now Sterling Ridge and Not Dying Anyway. But, oh God, her stuff was beautiful. Just saying. Anyway, it's a, oh gosh, semi-solid blue. And I was like, oh no, what do I do? She doesn't even dye. And then went and looked at Lisa Souza's range, and there it was. She calls it Niam, N as in Nancy, Y as in Yam, A as in Apple, M as in Mary. And it's MCN, and there it is, her dark blue in it. It looks very close to what I'm using. So, beat me, whip me, make me write bad checks. I bought a skein of it. And the sale was, well, you know, first was Lisa. It wasn't that expensive to begin with. And then she forgave the sale tax, I believe. So, yeah, I got me some Niam. And while I was there, I got a skein, another skein of the Polworth silk. I think it's called Late Harvest. It looks like brown and cream and a little bit of pinkish red. I'm thinking that will go beautifully with the mixed berry compote, I think it's called, that I'd already bought from her in the Polworth silk. And I bought that to match this beautiful yarn that Jasmine Knitmore had given me, which I think it's called Birches. And since I can't read trying to read the label in my memory, it's got a cephalopod on it. I can't remember the actual name though of the dyer. Oh well. At any rate, I had bought the berry color from Lisa because the Birches is in that same mix of Polworth silk. So I bought Lisa's berry to go with it because the Birches has a sort of undertone breath of pink under the silver. Well, and then this has pink and brown, and well, you know, the possibilities. 2 sweaters? You know, anyway, we'll see how that all works out. I do believe at least one of them is going to end up as a ducat. That is a crop. I love the ducat pattern. Very easy to do. And a nice dense knit. I like the way, I love the hand of it from the first one I made. Coincidentally, in Lisa Souza's Polworth silk in the colorway Kana Poly. So, yeah, I'm back to that again. It's a great pattern. It's like doing the brick, frankly, in DK, and I'm cool with that. And by the way, I'm about, I think, oh, I can't see where my phone is. I should find that. About 90, yeah, there it is. I'm about 95 miles outside of Bishop as I record this now. It's weird. It's like I'm in this kind of time trap where there is no time, there is no clock, there is only distance from the yarn store in Bishop. Okay. So anyway, Lisa had her sale. I'm sorry, I don't think I got it. I don't think I got to blast it on my social media. Not like any of you can follow my social media because, you know, history of working in a prison, don't want happy people following me, you know, that I don't want to follow me, if you catch my drift. But anyway, really, if you don't know Lisa Souza, Lisa Knit Singular, I believe, .com, and really you should know Lisa. Okay, so that's my latest yarn purchases. Ironically, I started the wild lettuce because I wanted to get rid of that blue MCN without making it into socks, and now what did I do? Bought more of it. My gain that I'm portraying as my loss may be your gain, because I'm debating if I want to do some kind of contest and give it away. Okay, it's Highway Canyon Road. I believe I'm about to come up on a big lake on my right that is Owens Lake, but we'll see. I can't see it right now. And Highway, I feel like I'm supposed to have seen Highway Canyon and know something about it, and yet I don't. All right, let's move right along, shall we? Surely we're out of strategy by now. Ugh, dust. I'm starting to get kind of nasal here. Well, I don't have any of my strategy stuff with me. So I will tell you that I'm playing around with some strategies on my own. And that is after I did the Calm Apps Masterclass on Modern Stoicism, I remember that when I was a teenager, I decided I would be a Stoic. And you laugh, but when you're 14 and you can read Latin pretty competently, and your teacher is kind of attached to the writings, the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, you'd be surprised what you can think about when you're a teenager. And so I've sort of returned to that, and I'm enjoying it very slowly. So that also could be a fluffy book, except there is nothing fluffy about the meditations of Marcus Aurelius. So I'm sort of dabbling around in that. What I got from the course, and I don't know if M. Aurelius Anius would agree, or I think he was Antonius actually. I think he changed his last name. I don't think he would agree with this completely, but the current lecturer says the 4 values are wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. I find that interestingly lacking in compassion, but nonetheless, oh look, Lakeview Road. Apparently there's a lake here somewhere. If I were on Lakeview Road, I could see it. Should be right next to the highway here, though. At any rate, a bunch of manufactured homes or something down there. Oh well, I'm not seeing the lake yet. At any rate, so I've started rereading the meditations in English. I made the mistake of buying the 99-cent Kindle book. Don't buy that. It's an extremely old, very Victorian translation. And unfortunately, you'll really be turned off by the introduction. Because the guy starts talking about how Marcus Aurelius racks up as a Christian, which to me is like, what are you, nuts? He didn't like the Christians. He persecuted them. He's not real famous for it, but it's known that he did it, I believe. And he just thought they were a bunch of scumbags. Having lived through the pandemic in 21st century America, I'm beginning to have a lot more sympathy for Emperor Marcus Aurelius. But at any rate, there's a beautiful, oh my goodness, Victorian style house. It's got to be more modern by that build, though. It's actually just sitting by the side of the road, here in the middle of no civilization. Oh, anyway, wow, lucky you. What an interesting place to live. I'll bet you hear the coyotes at night. I wonder what kind of wildlife you have out here. I'm at Sage Flat Drive. I guess that's what he wanted to name the road to his house, because I'm pretty sure that's how it got named. One guy living out here all by his lonesome, I'm there. He called it Sage Flat. Everybody said, okay, we'll call it that. Anyway, so I'm reading the meditations. What's interesting, apart from the lousy introduction that I highly recommend you skip if you get the 99-cent Kindle version, is that they start with Aurelius praising, I guess I should call him Marcus, but it feels awfully informal. But they start with him praising all the men who influenced him, and these are the elder men of his family. His parents died when he's young. He apparently remembers them with great warmth and gratitude, and I believe his grandfather adopts him. And so he's mostly talking about them and how they taught him lessons, and mostly they seem to be teaching him lessons in moderation. That's a refreshing thing to read, I have to tell you. Where he talks about not going to excess. And it's kind of important because as he's writing this, he's a general, and I believe he's the emperor when he starts writing these. And he's been a consul. You know, he's done the normal Roman cursus honorum, or honorum if you pronounce it properly. And okay, the Highway Dam, there is a lake over here, but I just can't see it. It looks like it's way below road level. Anyway, so he's certainly been exposed to excess. He's living in 2nd century Christian era, as I think it's now properly called, Rome, except he's not in Rome. He's out, I believe, in the eastern provinces fighting various tribal wars. So this guy would have certainly encountered the excesses of the later Roman Empire, and he doesn't believe in them, which is too bad because his only surviving son will be a monster who does, but hey, you know, oh well. It's a long, weird story anyway. So, alright, so there's Marcus, and he's saying, I'm avoiding excess, and he's paying tribute to the people he thinks were positive influences on him. And yeah, that's a very stoic thing to do, that you look for role models who practice moderation. All right. Wow, look at this. There's like an ancient motel that is just dust. And then there's, oh, here's an RV place with teepees. Wow, Olancho Cafe. And it's got teepees and the BLM fire station. And I may stop in that on the way home. Here's Cactus Flat Road. I mean, that's the kind of thing you look at and you go, I'd like to know more about that. There's a story there. Who owns that? Because there's also native words on some of the signs here. One can only hope that this is, and the big sign says reimagine. One can only hope that there's some kind of native reformation. I seem to be in a village called Grant that really is a village. Doesn't have anything except 2 houses and a sign that says Grant. I gotta check the population sign on that baby. And Wallace Canyon Road. Oh, there's a bunch of little houses here. Sorry, you have to imagine the desolation I'm currently in. Huge amount of solar collectors on my right. So that's why I'm kind of, we're coming into Lone Pine. That's why there's civilization, so to speak, here. Okay. Anyway, so I digress greatly. So I've been looking at wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. And in the lectures, here we go, Death Valley, right turn, 1 mile to 190. I have been up this far several times to get to Death Valley, I believe. And if I think it's desolate here, I know when I take that turn, it's even more desolate. Actually, I think we turned right at Ridgecrest and went through China Lake. I don't think we went this far north and then turned east. At any rate, like you care. And now gas stations that actually seem to do business. I'll be doing that in Lone Pine, I think. At any rate, so I've been looking at those values, and it's interesting because the man doing the modern lectures on the master class, whose name I should know and don't, I'm sorry, and it really is disrespectful because he does a good job with them. It's a very user-engaging set of lectures. I was very interested in them. 104, yeah, to Death Valley, and 46 to Panamint Springs, that's right. Okay. So he talks about one of the values. He actually gives lessons on the values. And he says, instead of using the values, he says, here are some habits you can adopt into your life. And the first one is wake up early. Well, I'm having incredible, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm in this sort of ghost ranch. And I don't know if they're still using it or not. It looks abandoned, but yet there's a lot of good fencing that's rusted. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, we're getting colored leaves. Oh my gosh, suddenly there's yellow leaves and green trees. Oh my gosh. It's just a little oasis. I'm 22 miles out of Lone Pine. Okay, nice fantasy. I wish I was at Lone Pine, but anyway. Do you care? I'm going to have to edit this so much. Thank you. Did I mention this? Thank you for being with me on my long, rather desolate drive, but oh my goodness, that has to be yucca. Oh, this is so pretty. And there's all these cattle chutes, but no ranch. Oh, somebody tried so hard out here. You know, out here it would take like 100 acres for every head of cattle. I mean, this is a hard place to make it. But boy, is this pretty. And my allergies are kicked up. I'm betting that's cottonwood trees that I'm looking at. Okay. So I thought, you know, practicing getting up early. So, well, that's not going to happen for me yet. Because what I really need to do is practice getting to sleep and sleeping. And I've really struggled with sleep since I turned 60, which was pretty concurrent with the beginning of the pandemic. So I'm working my own way through a mass of feelings and behaviors that I picked up with the quarantine and the pandemic. And while I'm giving you guys all this advice, right? Yeah, I am trying to live it myself, believe me. So I thought getting up early isn't going to work. But he talks about one thing all the Stoics did was they kept journals. And at night, they would talk about what they achieved during the day and how they used their values. And in the morning, you get up and after a good night's sleep, you think afresh about what you want to happen during your day. And I thought, what does that mean exactly? Wow, there's a crystal geyser. That is the water company, some kind of plant here. Huh. Or like some kind of road here. I'm not sure if there's an actual plant. So I thought, well, I'll go back to my journal because I had started journaling after our wedding anniversary last July, and I've been doing it sporadically. Wow, Cartago, Lemon House Inn vacancy, the world's scariest 2-bedroom motel, and it's got a sort of building that's painted bright yellow and kind of is meant to look like a lemon, I suspect. The villages out here are a little different, but you know, having lived in small-town America, yes. If you've never seen really small-town America like this, and even when you have, it's a little strange. So I started on my journal, and I'm really doing exactly that. I get up in the morning, and I just write what I want to do with the day, and I might put a few observations in. If you've ever read Julia Cameron's excellent book about creativity, The Artist's Way, she recommends this too. She recommends morning lines. For about 20 minutes, just write anything. So I'm finding this, oh, there's the lake. I think this is probably Owens Lake I'm looking at. Oh boy, is it low. Holy crow. It's like the bottom is sticking out. It's huge, and I just realized it's much bigger than it looks. It's just dry. Wow, talk about drought. So anyway, Julia Cameron says, if you want to be creative, every day you get up and you start by being creative. You start and you write for 20 minutes. So I don't know if I'm doing it for 20 minutes, but I'm really enjoying it. And I set goals, and I do check them off as I go through the day. And that's been interesting because the move to the journaling in the morning and at night when I take stock and think and sort of think about what values was I using, and I'll add other values. I don't stick to the core 4 of Stoicism. But actually that reduced my screen time, at which I was concerned that I was using so many screens that was interfering with my sleep, and I think that is very possible. So somewhere in the beginning of this, 3 or 4 days ago, because that's when I started all this, I said to myself, what if we just cut back the screens 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.? So those are the hours I can use them, and 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. I don't. Boy, has this been interesting. So last night I couldn't get to sleep till midnight because I was all wound up about going to Mammoth, would I or wouldn't I? Okay, I broke my rule about the screens because I was actually looking at information on Mammoth. But still, I'm working at it, kids. It's a work in progress. So anyway, I have been stopping my screens at 9 p.m., with the exception of last night, for about 4 or 5 nights, and not letting myself start them till 9 a.m. There are exceptions. I do allow myself to have the Calm app running at night to help me go to sleep. Although 2 nights ago I just forgot to turn it on and passed out, which is really nice news for me, that I was able to turn off my mind. So the screen thing, the 9 to 9 thing, has been a really nice strategy. And here we are, I'm in the Eastern Sierra Parklands, it says. Okay, it's been a really nice strategy for me. So I guess if I was to say, what is a strategy? I'm talking about the Stoicism strategy, but the one I would give you is the 9 to 9 screens. If you're already doing that, bully for you. I really mean that with respect. There are exceptions. I don't keep my phone by my bed because 9 to 9, at 9 p.m. the phone goes off too. But if I have any reason to believe there's an emergency, I have permission myself to do that, to go to a screen and sort it out. Because again, in terms of managing anxiety, you want to manage anxiety. If you're anxious and you go, no, I have a rule about my screens, that's probably going to do more harm than good. That with anxiety, you want to, reality test, is my anxiety real? And if you need to act right away, you want to act right away. So it's been going really, really well. I have slept 8 hours a night for the last, I think, 5 nights. Let me think. Yeah, it'll be 5 nights. And it's been life-changing just to do that. Will I start getting up early? Yes. I think the next project, I'm sticking to the 9 to 9 screen time, and the next project is to really try to get myself to go to bed at 10 o'clock and get up at 6 every day. The interesting thing is how much time I have recovered with the 9 to 9 screen strategy. That's how I suddenly started finishing the wild lettuce shawl and the sock. That I suddenly couldn't turn my computer on until 9 a.m. So I had daylight and nothing to do. I got up, I showered, tidied around the bathroom, the living room, and the kitchen. Did my 15-minute project touch-up, usually did the dishes, put the laundry in, and then said, oh, good Lord, I still have an hour, and made coffee, which is my breakfast coffee with heavy cream, and still had an hour, and some mornings even more. And so I was sitting down and actually knitting, and that's a really nice way to start my working day. And at 9 o'clock, I don't usually see patients till 10. So at 9 o'clock, I'm turning all my screens on because getting my screens set up for my working day actually does take about 20 minutes. But that's okay because now it's very leisurely and I get all my earphones attached and I have different computers doing different tasks and I turn on my security system, my Nord and everything else. It's been really amazing. So I'm hoping that I can stick with this. 71 miles to Bishop, yay! I'm really, really hoping I can stick with this. Oh boy, I hope I make it while the store is still open, because that would be such a reward. Sun goes down here about 6:15 tonight, so I should be able to get to the yarn store. And I want to buy souvenir yarn. Let me be straight up, I didn't bring any neckwear, so that seems like a perfect time to buy souvenir yarn and crochet myself a cowl or something. And if they don't have the hooks I want, then I will get needles. But it looks like she's got yarn supplies and embroidery supplies. Maybe I'll get an embroidery kit instead of doing souvenir yarn. We'll see. Isn't this exciting? It really is. Okay, it's really fun to be on the road and traveling. I didn't think I was going to want to do this. I kept hesitating at the thought of the 4-hour drive. Those of you who are boomers, recite in the background to the melody of Gilligan's Island, a 4-hour drive. Okay, so what on earth am I talking about? My strategy. So I'm a Stoic, and I'm going back to my roots. Now, I have to tell you, Stoicism has carried me through a lot. And I do believe it's probably the foundational philosophy. Now, when things got really interesting was I started listening to this psychologist who's written a book called The Cure for Depression. And actually, he's acting like, oh, I've got all this new research. No, I'm sorry. It's just good old Cog B, if you ask me, with a smattering of DBT in it. But still, the book was apparently a bestseller, which means he's writing in a way the public can understand. So while I don't feel like he's wildly original, as he seems to suggest he is, I do really respect what he's saying, because the way he's trying to talk to the common person is he's saying, yes, you are depressed, and it is because of our normal lifestyle. And that is a valuable thing to say. And so he's taking the typical strategies we tell people, and he's saying, look, these strategies are a cure to the common problems of working people in our era. And I really respect that. That's a very intelligent approach to take to sell the kind of work we do to the average person in the street. Meanwhile, he got interesting because I think he was doing his research when they asked him to record these lectures for the Calm app. I strongly suspect he went and listened to the lectures they already had, because he seems to be referencing a few of them. So I kind of admire that. And he references Stoicism several times. One of the things I like is he says, of course, classical Stoicism was brought into psychotherapy as cognitive behavioral therapy. And I went, wham, blam, no kidding, and thought, he's right. That makes absolute sense. And then I thought that really explains dialectical behavioral therapy, because Marsha Linehan, the creator of DBT, her crusade was to bring compassion into cognitive behavioral therapy. CogB is most often criticized for being clinically cold, which it never has been, in my opinion. But I think those who are afraid of it or don't understand it often say that. But I think Linehan made a good point that CogB, the original teachers of CogB, yes, I've trained with them, they don't talk about compassion. They seem to assume that getting it right is compassion. And Linehan actually teased out, where does compassion enter this formula? And this is why I love Marsha Linehan and admire her so much. And this is why I say I'm a dialectical behavioral therapist more than a cognitive behavioral therapist, although one is a subset of the other, so I am both. Okay, so I'm pretty interested now. My little psychology ears have pricked up, because to me it's like, whoa, alrighty. So I'm doing Stoicism, which is the root of the CogB that I also believe in. And I also feel very justified saying that I have concerns about that element of compassion and respect for the patient. So there we are. That's a lot of strategy. I wonder how much will actually make it into this episode. Where am I now? Something I really like. Well, I already hit those master classes last week. So, you know, something I really like is this idea of the weekend blast. I'm just taking a weekend and launching yourself into a new place. It's not easy these days. Now, you know, if you're lucky enough to have a camper or to be a camper in a tent, go you. But these days are kind of challenging for this. I will say, I learned in September of 20 that hoteling went pretty well in the middle of the quarantine for me. And I did do it. And it was because I actually think the hotel experience has been vastly improved, sadly, by the pandemic. Now, the prices have gone up, that's true. And the bonus points programs are really not very good these days, apparently. I know that the Marriott one, which took over Starwood's excellent SPG program and killed it, basically, or choked it to death, it's not very good the way it used to be, because they're slowly getting rid of all the good Starwood Sheraton influence. But anyway, I fetch. But I have to say, apart from the prices, the hotel experience has been great. The hotels now are really cautious, and I hate to say it, I suspect they like it too, because they don't have to send housekeepers through to clean every room every day. So I suspect they've saved a lot of money, but they're also losing a lot of money, except I don't think they are in a place like Mammoth, where it's hard to even get a room on a Saturday night. So, you know, balance that any way you want to. But a lot of hotels that are not in mainstream resort areas might actually be worth trying out during these hard times. But I'm enjoying the fact that after you leave a hotel room, they don't rent it for at least 24 hours because they're letting everything die. Allegedly, they're doing this. And they don't show up to do room service every day because that would wildly increase risk of infection. I really love this. I loved, in September of 20, when I was staying at the Sheraton out at the beach in the marina in Ventura, I stayed there. I think I was there almost 2 weeks. I saw patients there for a week as well, using up all my points from my old SPG days. And I loved it because nobody bothered me. It was so wonderful to just be parked and to get up every morning and not have to rush because someone was going to keep trying. Ooh, the Boulder Creek RV Resort, they're trying hard. That's a pretty heavy, strange, hippie-like decoration. Anyway, it was lovely to get up every morning and nobody rushed me out so they could clean the room. I wanted them to change the sheets once, and I just made sure I left. Put everything in a lockbox and my computers and stuff and walked out, and they cleaned the room. I left everybody a generous tip. I deeply enjoyed the intense privacy. The room had a mini fridge and I believe a coffee maker. I don't believe it had a microwave, and I had my Instant Pot, which I didn't bring with me this time because it's only 2 days. And I just made my own food. I drove over to Trader Joe's, which was open, although they were doing hardcore social distancing. Got all this pre-made stuff, threw it in the Instant Pot, was making insanely good. Diaz Lake Recreation Area. Okay, just in case you're following me on a map. Oh, there's a little lake. It's a little teeny lake, and everybody's parked around it. And it's got a few trees, and then it's got these big brown hills, dry as dirt, looking like dirt, in fact. Oh, but it's so cute. Anyway, in case you're following me now, you know Diaz Lake. My Espanol is lousy. That's D as in dog, I-A-Z as in zoo. That was a Spanish word I was trying to say, or a Spanish surname. Okay. But yeah, the hills come almost right down to the road, and they're low foothills, and they're just big lumps of very dark brown, reddish. Oh, look, another turned into Death Valley. Monday project, maybe. Oh, and there's cattle, and there's grass. Yeah, there's actually grass around here. I'm coming into Lone Pine. There we are. Okay. It says Mount Whitney and Alabama Hills. Mount Whitney Golf Club. Am I around Mount Whitney? Wow, I think I should be, actually. I hadn't thought about that. Well, I'm at the High Sierra, and it's almost, oh yeah. Yeah, the High Sierra's gotten high. I just suddenly looked at it and realized, yeah, those mountains are a lot bigger than they were the last time I mentioned them. Okay, here we are in Lone Pine. Let me obey the law, though. I don't want anybody to hit me on speeding here. I'm sure they do. I'm sure this is one of those speed trap towns. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Speed's dropping rapidly here. So we'll just drop with it. Wow, was that it? That's a pretty small town. I thought I remembered this as being bigger. Is this Lone Pine or Big Pine? No, it's probably Lone Pine, and then Big Pine's in front of me. Yeah, that's right. Oh, over on my left, there's 2 rows of mountains. The big ones are the Sierra, and then there's these little brown foothills I was describing. They only look like they're maybe 1,000 feet above the road at the most. And they're just big balls of brown, reddish-brown dirt. Yeah, okay, here's the Lone Pine Airport. Well, if you say so. It looks like the Lone Pine basketball court. Oh, dear. Oh, yeah, there's a very, 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 very short runway, but there is a Quality Inn. And here's a Best Western Plus. I could have stayed here. There's a sale on native jewelry. Oh, I feel so bad about that, because I would love to look at native jewelry, and then I would drive around feeling like I'm co-opting a beautiful culture that doesn't belong to me. But I'll bet it's great. Artists need to create on the same scale that society has the capacity to destroy. Wow, that was a roadside sign. Thank you, whoever posted that. What an interesting thought. So Lone Pine population 2,035. Driving in here. This is a beautiful town. And it's an interesting mix of sort of dry trees, like dry region trees, and it looks like creosote. I'm betting sage in there somewhere. Yucca. and dry pines. I don't know what to call those. They're Douglas fir, what they are. Hopefully, I've got the app on my phone to look at the flora. So hopefully I'll learn more about what's here, because it is a fascinating landscape. Okay, speed limit 65, everybody accelerating. I am 55 miles from Bishop and 40 from Big Pine. I might gas up in Big Pine just to make it easier. That's probably about where I'll need to. Wow, so it's nice to be out here. What the heck am I talking about? I'm so distracted. Let me think. Oh yeah, I was on something I really like. Did I ever pick anything? Does anybody remember? Well, I guess I like stoicism. There you go. I'm sitting there going, boy, I have to listen to this. This sounds like, you're going to go, hey, this isn't Dr. Gemma on a road trip. This is Dr. Gemma on some mad drunk bender. She doesn't even know what she's talking about. No, seriously, I'm perfectly sober. If anything, I'm a little caffeined up. Oh, look, an elk warning for the next 5 miles. I really don't want to see an elk in the middle of the road, but boy, would that be cool. Wouldn't that be cool to see an elk? I really don't think I'm going to be that lucky, but man, oh man, that would be the coolest thing ever. I've only seen elk in Yellowstone in my colorful past. Okay, well, I think I have clawed my way out of something I really like in some way or other. Does that mean I can talk about, what can I talk about? Well, fluffy books, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. I've really just started them because I want to read it very slowly and sort of savor it bit by bit. I told you I finished Miss Seton Sings, so I went back to the first book, which I believe is Picture Miss Seton. I really just have done the first few pages. What else was I reading? Oh, I finished Murder Most Pemberley. Don't bother. It's a small-scale internet kind of publisher, and you can tell. The woman who writes the book clearly likes Agatha Christie and Jane Austen. However, she has no sense of characterization whatsoever, which actually is a pretty good description of most of Agatha Christie's work. How does Agatha Christie make up for that? Pardon me? Well, she does have some characters. She has Hercule Poirot, who I always found insufferable, so I can't get that interested in the Poirot mysteries. I've read The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. Again, I just could not get interested in Hercule Poirot. But then there was Tommy and Tuppence, who have no personalities whatsoever, which was a bit of a shame. Then there's Miss Marple, who must have some personality because they keep making movies and TV shows about her. So I don't remember. I don't think I read a lot of Miss Marple in my youth. I read a lot of Christie, but I read a lot of her sort of one-off type mysteries, if I remember correctly. Anyway, Christie is a goddess of plot. And, of course, as anybody who's read And Then There Were None knows, she really, really works the locked room mystery genre. So, yeah, I think Agatha Christie is a fine person to read. I don't know if you have to read all of her, but some of her classics, certainly And Then There Were None, is worth reading. What's the other one? No, I can't remember. Anyway, unfortunately, the woman writing, Jessica Berg, writing Murder Most Pemberley, seems to have gotten the worst of Christie, not the best. The hero isn't. Well, I should say the romantic male lead isn't. He has no personality. Essentially, I'm sitting here looking at a creosote by the side of the road. I could probably write a more interesting paragraph about it than about him, as represented in this book. The heroine is a giggly young female who's annoying at best. And, I don't know, like, there's just not enough personality there. And I really like characterization. I appreciate plot. The plot is dull, and it's pretty visible that there's a red herring. She's very obvious. The criminal is pretty obvious, the villain. It's not bad. I mean, that part of the plot isn't bad. I found the denouement kind of repetitious. I feel like I've seen that denouement in about 60 other mystery stories. It had nothing that really interested me. So, okay, no. I really hope that Jessica Berg keeps writing. I mean, she can get through writing a book. She can assemble a readable story. But I wouldn't waste my time on this one, but I think it's great she could get someone to publish it, and it clearly makes her feel good. And she can write a book, and that is a skill. I mean, I've tried it myself. It's not easy. So I hope she keeps writing, but I think there's a lot of room for improvement. And, you know, unless you've got to read everything in the post-Jane Austen genre, I really wouldn't put any money into this book. I think I got it for free. It says it's the first Eliza Darcy mystery. Eliza Darcy being a modern 21st century American who gets transplanted back to the home country in Britain. I just, no. You know, it's really not very good. But where it's promising is she's trying to learn to do complicated plots. Oh, look. There's the beginnings of the LA Aqueduct. That's kind of scary. Okay. So I wouldn't really waste my time on that. Jodi Taylor just released her third book in the Time Police series, which is a sequel series and now running sort of concurrently with the St. Mary's. So we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to that. I haven't gotten that as an audiobook. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll download it this weekend. What have I been listening to? Oh, I was listening to Murder Most Pemberley, forget it, after listening to Miss Seton Sings. So not too much excitement on the fluffy book front. Put a lid on it. Well, have I done anything interesting? No, not really. Not really. I'm pulling out the Instant Pot, and I'm looking at doing a major run for inexpensive cuts of fatty meat at Aldi because it's winter. And I did put out, my husband put it in the fridge. I found a frozen chicken in their freezer, really kind of sad, but I'm starting to thaw that because it is time to make more bone broth, which I'm totally out of. I am now at the phase where I'm starting to make the Italian egg drop soup, which I think is called stracciatelle, as my grandmother would say. I'm passing the Manzanar Historic Site, which I stopped at this last time I was here, and it's so heartrending. You know, this is like, because you're right in sight of this insanely beautiful area of the mountains, and they're using it to keep American citizens, prisoners, in a sort of concentration camp setting. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm trying to concentrate on too many things, so I'm trying to say this. Please hear the disgust that should be in there. Like, okay, we're not talking ovens, we're not talking Auschwitz, but what a national level disgrace. And I just passed it. I don't know, I thought you could see it from the road, but I didn't see much of it. I saw the watchtower. It's heartbreaking. That's what I'm telling you. It's heartbreaking. Oh yeah, I was doing, put a lid on it. So not much this week. I'm really just bracing up to start the Instant Pot cooking for the fall and to start trying some new recipes. I haven't made an Instant Pot cheesecake since I don't know when. I've been instead using a cheesecake with powdered gelatin recipe to make a refrigerator cheesecake filling that I treat as a pudding. But we're kind of reaching that phase of the year where the days are cooling down and it's time to make cheesecake and some other interesting things. So hopefully I'm going to brace up for that. I've been subscribed to Carolyn Ketchum's site, which is all day, I think it's called All Day Long I Dream About Low Carb. And hopefully when I get back, I don't know if there's going to be show notes to this episode, but if I do, I'll put that on the show notes. Because she's got a lot of cakes. Now, I made the pumpkin spice earthquake cake. I would like to make that again without the frosting that you add at the end. I would like to make it just as a dry pumpkin spice kind of pound cake, because it was that part of the cake was delicious. I found the frosting part just a little bit sickeningly sweet. Sure, I could cut back on the swerve in it, and it wouldn't be as sickeningly sweet, but I think I'd like to try it, dropping that all together. If you make that recipe, it goes great with just cream, liquid, heavy cream poured over it. Don't whip it. Just pour the cream over it, and it really is marvelous. Have I got anything else? No, I think that's pretty much it. So where am I now? Oh, shoot. I went climbing for half an hour Thursday morning, and that was great. I decided that I have to really throw myself at the remaining 5.6 trail, which is the brown one that has the brain that I keep putting as a picture on my website. That is one of the early handholds and then footholds, is a plastic brain. They've toughened it up with resin so you can stand on it, can take your weight, and it's cut in half, so you've got a hemisphere of the brain there. And I see it as hanging upside down, folks, so I think that would make it a right hemisphere. Anyway, that's the one I've been nervous on, and they took away my blue one, my blue path, and did not replace it with a 5.6. They replaced it with a 5.9. So I've got two 5.5s and a 5.6, and so I went, and I didn't have time Thursday morning because I had a patient. You know, place doesn't open till 10, and I've got a patient at noon. So, you know, I just gave myself 30 minutes and climbed as much as I could, as fast as I could. Just tried to tire myself out and get in some kind of workout. I barely broke a sweat. I'm actually getting considerably stronger, which weirds me out. I'm coming into a small town. Oh, the Inyo County Juvenile Detention Facility is here. And a shoe city. Go figure. I'm in some small town, but I don't think this is... Now, this is the town that grew up, Mount Williamson Motel. No, I know where Mount Williamson is. It's not here, I don't think. I think this is the town that basically grew up around the detention center. Yeah, there's an old late Victorian home. And there's some clapboard, yeah. There is a Chevron station. Is at that time, as a food co-op, good for them. Good for them. Gotta talk about that, must be necessary. And here's the Chevron station. This looks like a good place to take a stop. And that actually was a good place to stop. For one thing, you can tell that I've been doing the blather all through the episode, so there was no reason to tag more onto the end of this very lengthy episode. So in the meantime, stay tuned for episode 51, which may have a little more from the road, in which we will find out what I actually did do in Mammoth, the snowstorm, and all the really cool stuff. In the meantime, I will also review the wonderful LYS in Bishop, California, Sierra, cottons, and wools, and I will continue in my hobby of getting it wrong in the episode and correcting it as I go, so be patient. But you will get your LYS review, and it's very worth it, I'm here to tell you. Okay, so that leaves me just to say, everybody, please get your vaccine and or your booster. Please practice social distancing. Please wash your hands. Please remember that the little kids are not yet vaccinated when you're out in public. Although, hooray, looks like we're going to get down to the 5-year-olds at last after today's news. Please take care. Wear your mask. Be safe. Everybody remember, please take care of each other. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.